The way that I describe it in the most crass way as possible is I describe heart games and heart players as the DP players and games. You couldn't give a crap, it doesn't really matter. I can wake up super, I don't care. You could be minus like 7 bazillion, but then you get up and just wake up in DP because you have an invincible DP. I don't know why I chose to do this. It felt right and it worked. But in a lot of the modern games, that doesn't work because if I knock you down and I have my frame kills and I throw a meaty on you, DP doesn't work. Is there a reason I was seeing everyone mash normal buttons during neutral in Super Turbo? Ah, okay. That is a fun question. Is that just an ST thing? It's not just an ST thing. It's more common in older fighting games. If you have actually seen me on Twitter talk about this, I have said many times that Street Fighter V and Street Fighter VI are a little bit difficult for me as a fighting game player compared to old games because the newer games, including a bit of Third Strike and even parts of Street Fighter IV, a lot of Street Fighter IV actually, is that a lot of fighting games have become with punish games. Whereas in the old days, a lot of games are hitbox-based neutral. So I've talked about this a lot. Like you'll hear me say the terms hitbox-based neutral or, with punish-based neutral. Like when New Generation came out, the original Street Fighter 3, the very first tournament out Golfland, I got to grand finals against Valle with my Alex, and he played Ryu, and all he did was do standing roundhouse with Ryu, and I couldn't beat him. I died. Like he just like roundhouse, and he's like, James can't stop this. Obviously this is the first tournament for Street Fighter 3 at Southern Hills Golfland, so we didn't know much about parrying and, how to utilize all these things and blah, 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 blah. I just got smoked by that because I would stick out a button, get hit, stick out a button and get hit, and I couldn't do anything. And that's because Third Strike became more of a with punish neutral game than a hitbox neutral game. What I'm used to is the games like Super Turbo, where you don't whiff punish other people's buttons. Again, Chun-Li's crouching medium kick has better frame data than most light attacks in fighting games today, right? Zangief's standing light kick has 0 recovery frames. The last frame of Zangief's standing light kick is an active frame, right? So, it wasn't about whiff punishing. You could whiff punish certain moves, like Guile's crouching medium kick is kind of famous for being one of the whiff punishable moves, but in general, whiff punishing wasn't something that you focused on. Instead, what you focused on was hitbox fighter. So you found moves that beat the other person's move. That's how it worked, right? And so, for example, I always use the Shotos versus Zangief as one of the primary examples here. If Ryu just goes crouching light kick all day like this, Zangief can't walk up and SPD him very well, etc., etc. The only thing Zangief can really do in that game is use standing medium kick, because the way that standing medium kicks hitbox and hurtboxes are designed is that it would go over the light kick and be just long enough to kick the Shotos from right outside of the crouching light kick range. So if they were doing crouching short all the time, I would just throw out a standing medium kick and kick him in the face, right? And so oh no. And then if the Shotos don't know anything else, they're gonna have trouble in this match. But what you learn then is that crouching strong for Shotos have a really high priority, what we used to call priority, right? Which now I define as the amount of overlap of hurt boxes to your hit boxes. So crouching strong for the Shotos have really small hurt boxes compared to their hit boxes. So actually, let me see if I can actually find pictures of this on Super Combo here. I think they'll actually have pictures of their hit boxes and hurt boxes over here. So let's go to Ryu over here. So here's crouching strong. Oh my God. Holy crap. This move has good priority. Holy crap. Oh my God. Like this kind of move would be like if people saw this move today, like people would be so angry and call for nerfs, okay? This is his Hitbox, Hurtbox. And what did I say about this move with the priority? Look at this thing. There is no Hitbox on his arm at all. At all. Like it's almost kind of silly. I mean, look at this thing, dude. Like, look at this. Like, there's no Hitbox on it at all. This is why this move we used to call had high priority, because that's what we referred to as priority. So in other words, if Zangief threw out the standing medium kicks, he would lose to this button all the time, right? So let's take a look at Zangief stand medium kick over here. Far medium kick. This is close. This is far medium kick here. Interestingly enough, I mean, it might not be this particular frame here, but one of the other frames of the move perhaps has more hitboxes that gets hit by the crouching strong. But this move does, oh yeah. Actually, look, it's the blue one. Oh, I got them backwards. Okay, I thought the green boxes are where the center of Zangief is, but the blue boxes are the hurt box. So yeah, if you look at Zangief here, you know, he would lose because this blue box would actually get hit by the Ryu crouching medium kick. It would lose to this because it would just get hit and not be able to reach far enough. And so Zangief would lose in this situation. But if you are a Zangief player worth their salt, you know that to fight that, you would actually end up using crouching close to, very, very weird. You would end up using crouching roundhouse. And if you look at this, like, it just has a really good range here, right? So it has a really good range here. And I'm not sure if that just means that it just outreaches the crouching strong, but I mean, I'd have to like see like a little hitbox detector or something like that. Or what it is that this move was just so fast that it was kind of like a pseudo hitbox. It was a pseudo whiff punish to some degree. But yeah, Zangief would just come up and use crouching roundhouse. And so if you actually did crouching roundhouse, you would end up beating the crouching strong a lot of the times because it would just outreach him, or maybe, like I said, just at a certain range, it was clean enough that it would very easily like kind of auto whiff punish, etc., etc. But again, if you were Ryu and you knew that, and he tried to use crouching roundhouse a lot, then you would use crouching short. And I'm not sure why, but that crouching short would hit Zangief all the time when he tried to do crouching roundhouse. Again, it's really weird. Like, that's just how it is. But if you play ST and you play any sort of Shotos versus Zangief, that's going to be one of the primary triangles of footsies of that matchup. Crouching short beats Zangief's sweep, and then standing medium kick beats the Shoto's crouching short. Their crouching strong beats Zangief's standing medium kick, and his crouching roundhouse beats Ryu's crouching short. And so you just mix between, like, it's just like literally in the neutral, you're playing the like a triangle of, you know, a mix. You're playing RPS in the neutral straight up just like that. But like, let me show you this right now, right? Like, remember, this is Zangief's crouching heavy kick, okay? This is Zangief's crouching heavy kick. The startup on that is technically 5 frames. All right, because this is old nomenclature right here. So this simplified is modern nomenclature. So the startup of his crouch roundhouse is 5 frames. Name me any character in any modern fighting game that has a sweep of 5 frames. Like, it doesn't exist, right? It literally doesn't exist. The total number of frames over here is 24, 25. It's 25 frames, this crouching roundhouse. Now, his is actually very easy to whiff punish. Zangief's crouching roundhouse is one of the easier buttons to whiff punish. So This is actually considered really bad recovery for Super Turbo right here. But 8 active frames? Like freaking, this is why you can do meaty crouch roundhouse into SPD on a lot of people. That's actually a legit tactic here. But if I go back even further and I go to Chun-Li over here, like I said, like, good luck. Good luck with punishing her crouching medium kick. Her crouching medium kick is one of the most ridiculous moves in the game. Look at this. It's a total of 14 frames. It has 4 recovery frames. Like, what? And comparatively, let me just go to, like, I'll just go to generic Shoto over here, and I'll go to Ryu. And Ryu's crouching light kick in Street Fighter 6 is 16 frames. 16 frames. Crouching light kick for Ryu has 10 recovery frames, has 5 startup frames, 2 active frames, and 10 recovery frames. So technically 4 plus 2 plus 10, that's 16. And Chun-Li's crouching medium kick in this game is 5 plus 5 plus 4. It's 14. This move is 2 frames faster than Ryu's crouching light kick from Street Fighter 6. As I've said to many people, good luck with punishing this button. And so this is just a long way to say to Nutacon here is that you didn't whiff punish moves in Super Turbo. And so when somebody was just like low forward, low forward, low forward, like that's just legit hard to get past, right? The reason why T-Hawk can't beat Cammy is because he can't do anything to her crouching medium kick. If she just does crouching medium kick, he has 0 moves that beat it. He can't whiff punish it. He can't do anything. He can only try to jump, and if you just try to you keep me in mind to uppercut after every crouching medium kick, there's like literally nothing T-Hawk can do. Like, if you are a machine and you play that matchup, it's unwinnable for T-Hawk. It's literally one of the 9-1 matchups in the game. Like, I say that Honda versus Cammy is 9-1 in favor of Honda, but she has a 9-1 matchup in favor of her versus T-Hawk. Like, that fight is almost impossible for T-Hawk to win. So what can I do, double Reppuken? Wait, what are you talking about? No glitching. I'll get to you in just a second. So this is what we have here, right? So the only way that you would beat this stuff is by out-prioritizing their buttons. And that's why you see people whiffing all the time in Super Turbo, because if they're not beating your move, you basically have nothing to be afraid of, right? And so when I'm Cammy and I'm fighting, for example, like a Guile player, one of my most important buttons is crouching strong, because this move beats Guile's crouching medium kick at farther ranges. So I will walk right outside of his crouching medium kick range, and I'll just go crouching strong, crouching strong, crouching strong. Because if he panics and hits crouching medium kick at any point during that, I will most likely hit him. Even though you can whiff punish Guile's crouching medium kick, like I said, it's humanly possible, but it's hard unless you have, for example, a Shoto sweep. If you have a Shoto sweep, because Shoto sweeps are some of the fastest moves in the game. Look at that. It's 4-frame startup, so it's a 5-frame startup in this game. So it's just like Zangief, right? Yes, okay, Zangief, Ryu can whiff punish you with that, but a lot of other characters can't, especially Cammy, because her crouching heavy kick is ass for range, right? And even her crouching medium kick is not nearly as good as Chun-Li's. Crouching forward right over here. Look at that, 7 recovery frames, and like, it is a fast startup here, but it's more dangerous to throw out than Chun-Li's is here. Again, this is 13, this is what, 3, 9, 13, so it's 16 frames. So this is 16, Chun-Li's is 14 frames. And it doesn't sound like much, but it makes a huge difference. It makes a gigantic difference that she has 7 recovery frames and Chun-Li only has 4 recovery frames. It makes a world of a difference. It's bizarre, but it does. her crouching medium punch is such a crucial button for her beating a lot of people who footsies her, because this can beat a lot of crouching medium kicks and stuff. So you throw this out a lot against people who like to spam crouching medium kicks. And what happens is that what this turns this fighting game into is it is not about whiff punishing and reacting. It's about guessing and anticipation. Like I said, I walk up and I just start mashing crouching strong in front of Guile. It's just me being like, I think he's gonna do it now. And that's how you play a lot of older fighting games. This is why I call it Hitbox Fighter. And so what that means is that it's you getting whiff punished is not as much of a concern. It's about you just beating their button. And so a lot of times when you play fighting games back in those days, if the opponent spammed a button, you tried to find one of your buttons that just happened to have a hitbox, hurtbox in such a way that it would beat their button. And so when I fought Valle in that Street Fighter 3 tournament, when he kept doing roundhouse, I tried my heavy kick, I tried my fierce punch, I tried my crouching medium punch, I tried everything, and I lost every time. And then after that happened, everybody was talking about it because it was hilarious. And again, Vi was smart enough to know that if I couldn't do anything about it, he was like, why should I stop? So he just kept doing it. And later on, like in the news groups and stuff, people were like, oh, we found a way to stop it. And you had to wait for the roundhouse to finish. And then you hit it with the crouching medium punch. And I was like, that's so weird. And I had to like try to practice it and all this stuff. Like whiff punishing wasn't even really like a concept to me, right? And so again, you know, whiff punishing has a lot to do with reactions. And I'm terrible at reactions. And so when fighting games are more geared towards reactions, I don't do well. But when they're more geared towards anticipation and kind of guessing what the opponent is going to do, I enjoy it and I do better, which is why I really like Soul Calibur 6. Because a lot of times Soul Calibur 6 has such a defined wheel of options. Horizontals generally can be crouched under, and verticals can generally be sidestepped. And so a lot of times you weren't trying to see them sidestep and then stab them, or see them crouch and then stab them. You just ran up to them and were like, you know what? I think you're gonna sidestep this time, or I think you're gonna do this. So you would just run up and like, this is my guess. And you would just go for it. So Soul Calibur is actually built more like that, and which is what made me like start leaning more into this heart-mind thing, because I was like, this is why Tekken and Soul Calibur players don't cross over. Because like Capcom games, they crossed over everywhere. Like, there was a Capcom game, you played it, like if you were a Capcom guy. So I just figured Bandai Namco games were the same. If you were a Tekken player, you just played Soul Calibur. But if you actually look at the scenes, the crossover is very small. And the reason why I found out is because Tekken is so much more about whiff punishing, about mind, you know, that kind of thing. Soul Calibur is like, yeah, I think you're gonna do this, swing. I think you're gonna do this, swing. And when I found that out, I was like, wow. And that's why I really fell in love with Soul Calibur 6, because it fit how I wanted to play. Now, there is a lot of whiff punishing in Soul Calibur 6 just by nature of it, but it actually can reward you for just like running up and guessing. Like literally one of the best ways I learned the game was when, I think it was Zefukai or one of the players literally, oh no, it wasn't Zefukai, it was, shoot, I can't recall the name right now because I'm bad with names. When they told me, they're like, learn basic Soul Calibur. Like basic Soul Calibur is run up and only use AA and BB. That's it. Because AA is always going to be a 2-hit horizontal that you can crouch, and BB is always going to be a 2-hit normal that they can, you know, that you can sidestep. And he's like, just focus on that for now. And I was like, really? And so I just ran up, and yeah, you just start learning that. It was just like, oh, okay, I'm going to train you with a bunch of AAs until you crouch, and then I can BB, and then, you know, you'll learn to do this, and I can AA, and then it just kind of starts to build from there. And the game made a lot more sense, and that's what really was like, holy crap, this is not like anything. This is nothing like Tekken like I thought it was gonna be. I just thought it was gonna be Tekken with weapons, and it wasn't. You know, it's like really cool, you know, and like I said, it's kind of where I started leaning in more towards the heart and mind kind of stuff. But the Voldo player, Forrest, you probably remember the Voldo player that used to kick my ass on the stream all the time. The way that he would beat me, and he'd beat me all the time, is very similar to a lot of the ways that I would lose to certain people in Capcom games. I would ask him, how do you know what I'm gonna do all the time? Or like, you just seem to have my read constantly. And he's like, I don't know. I don't know why. Like, it doesn't make any sense. He's just like, okay. For some reason, he just knew every time I was gonna go for the throw, anytime I was, so he was playing super, super hard, right? There's no explanation, and that happens a lot in the older Capcom games. Like, sometimes you're just like, how did you know what I was gonna do every time? And I'm like, I don't really know. I don't know. And so I would lose to him in the same way that I lost to a lot of my demons in other fighting games, you know? They just knew my patterns, and they can't figure out why, you know? And that's one of the tough things about Street Fighter V and Street Fighter VI. I have often said, what you have to do to get strong in those games is remove that passion, remove that emotion out of your body. If you're in the corner and you're knocked down and you guess they're gonna throw, and you throw and they shimmy and they hit you, you can't get mad at yourself. You're just like, well, that was one of the wrong guesses that I just made. But it's such a hardly defined, like strong defined, like rock, paper, scissors, that yeah, that's just literally all it is. You have to almost be like dispassionate about it. Like if the guy guesses right 3 in a row, it's not that they read you, it's just that they just had their own educated guess and it just kind of worked out. There is a lot of reading your opponent there, but when I play those older games, it's like no matter what you try to do, no matter what you try to randomize, the other guy just seems to know it 100% of the time. It's very, very weird. And JNV, I get what you're saying, but that's not what I'm talking about. So JNV in the chat says MVC2 and CVS2 are both Capcom games, but both play very differently. Yes, but they both play extremely similarly in that they are both heart games. In the fact that those games, yes, you just whiff buttons a lot more. You just press buttons and you just make decisions and you choose to do stuff. The reason why, like MVC2 is crazy is because a lot of the times the decisions you make in MVC2 make no goddamn sense whatsoever. You know, the more logic you put into the game, the harder it was for people to play it. Which is largely one of the reasons why a lot of people theorize that the Japanese had trouble with the game, is because they would find these combos and they would like try to approach it. They would focus on this technical aspect. Then they'd fight somebody who doesn't even know any complex combos and just super jumps in the air and goes, photon shots, photon shots, photon shots. And then like this comes out and they tag the storm and it's just like hail. And like they block all the hail and they're like, you're wasting one of the supers. It can do so much damage in a combo. But then you look at US players and they are just burning through meters. It's just like, okay, chip you here, chip you here. That was one of the main discrepancies early on, was that we always said that Japanese players didn't understand how to use supers for chip. It was more about how to control the spacing and the movement and everything. A lot of the strongest players in the MVC2 era, it's literally just like, you know what? This time I'm doing this. This time I'm just gonna do this. You know what? Stay back. I suspected you were gonna call an assist, so I called out Storm, Hail, because I'm trying to hit the assist. You didn't call the assist, whatever, and like you didn't even care that you wasted the super, right? And so in CVS2, it's very similar, right? You're literally playing that kind of anticipation kind of game. It wasn't really a reactionary game as much, you know? And so, yes, they play extremely differently on a technical and a system mechanics standpoint, but they both play very much as heart games, right? They're still both very heart games, because in CVS2, like, oh, you're gonna try to meaty me? Well, you know what? I can just roll through this and get away. I can parry it. I can just defend it. I can block it in alpha counter, because the alpha counters were kind of faster in that game, you know, or the other guy just messed up their timing, you know, and then you throw roll canceling in the mix And now everybody has like really bizarre wake up invincible moves, you know, that are safe on block, you know. So like, there's just like, again, it's just a crazy, this is the decision I made kind of game. So they're the same. They're very different, but they are the same. So it's very interesting in that way. Bruce Lee and Musashi called it emptiness or the void, where you don't have to commit attention resources to train techniques. It applies to drilled skills, pattern recognition, etc. That's why Vi is so good and Justin are so good at the older games, because their pattern recognition is ridiculous. Like, they just figure out what it is that you're doing almost instantly. I've often said that every time I have fought Vi with my Cammy, every time he picks Ryu, he destroys me. He destroys me, and I cannot beat him. The only one time I ever beat Vi in Super Turbo was during a casual game. It was just a casual game, so one, he probably wasn't trying as hard, but two, I made it a point for myself to jump randomly. Like, I would just walk around, and while I'm playing footsies, I'd be like, oh yeah, I should jump. And I would just jump in the middle of nowhere with no logic, no prediction. I'd be like, just jump now. And because Cammy does stupid amounts of damage and stuns people really easily, I randomly jumped over like 2 or 3 fireballs during course of the game. And so I ended up winning. And the only way I could do that was betraying my own brain. Yes, Manta, yes, that's right. Yes. Manta like 5 something, God, I forgot. But yeah, so for me, you know, when I've talked about the fact that like, even with Tetris, right? Let's think about Tetris and Puyo Puyo. I've often said that I really don't like playing Puyo Puyo. I way prefer Tetris over Puyo Puyo. And when people ask why, I literally say, because in Puyo Puyo, you have to think too much. And I don't like that. You have to plan super far ahead, and I just don't think that's as fun. Tetris, I've often said, is such a zen game. It's a game that once you get good at it and you start recognizing the landscapes and know what you're supposed to do, at least when you're not building for T-spins and stuff, that the reason why I can't get good at that is because it requires a bunch of studying and practice. And I just couldn't give a crap about it. So I still play Tetris just by trying to be fast and getting Tetrises. And I enjoy that. And so you can even see it with puzzle games. Like, I prefer the heart puzzle game over the mind puzzle game. Like, weird to say, but like, this is just literally how my brain is and how I process information. I love being in Zen. And when I play the older fighting games, I am way more often being in Zen than when I'm playing like Street Fighter V and Street Fighter VI. When I play those games, I'm just in panic because like, you can't do that as well. I don't get to walk around and press buttons. And in fact, you know, every time I play Zangief in Street Fighter V, I couldn't do anything with him. And when I tried to play Zangief in Street Fighter VI, I couldn't do anything with him until I remembered I'm playing Street Fighter VI. And then I was like, oh, that's right. I have to play Street Fighter VI. Whereas when I was playing Zangief in Street Fighter V and the start of Street Fighter VI, I was just going like, medium kick, strong, medium kick, sweep. Like, I was playing the Super Turbo style. I was just hitting buttons. Like Nutakan said, he saw everybody do in Super Turbo because I thought I was playing Super Turbo. Same thing when I played Guile in 6. I was like, so bad, crouching medium kick, so bad, crouching medium kick, sonic boom, so bad. And so they would block the so bad and I would hit crouching medium kick and then they just hit me first. And I'm like, what? Like, how are they beating? What? And then I was like, crap, I'm not playing Street Fighter 2. I'm not playing CVS 2. I am playing 5 and 6, and when I get those moves blocked, I have to respect their turn. And I'm just so muscle memoried in Guile and Zangief to just hit buttons, and it doesn't work. And so, like, literally, I have to find a way to rewire my brain to play a lot of those characters. In 5, I had very poor success with Cammy because I kept trying to play her like Street Fighter 4 Cammy because she didn't change. She had like all the same moves, but I didn't understand how much the game changed. So she had all the same moves, but she couldn't do the same stuff. And I didn't get it. Like, I would see other Cammies have just like ridiculous pressure, and every time I tried it, I'd die. It's the same thing that happened to me in Tekken. People were like, down forward 1's really good. Down 3 is really good with King. Do this with King. And I would just try to do it, and it wouldn't work because I wasn't confirming whether they were blocking or not. You know, and I wasn't so in Street Fighter V, I wasn't using as many plus on block moves. Like, I didn't use her standing strong as much as I used her standing medium kick or crouching medium kick. Both of those were negative. And so when they were blocked, I had to stop my offense, but I didn't because I thought I was playing these old games. I'm like, where I can just keep mashing buttons. That doesn't work. The way that I play fighting games is just more zen. And again, a lot of old games were more designed for those kind of players, which is why the Tekken scene never crossed over into anything. Like, you just didn't see a lot of the Tekken players play anything else. And it's even kind of still true today, really, in a weird way. But now I think it's just because you have to basically go to college to learn Tekken, because there's just too much in that. It's true, everybody does mash with King. It's true. So which part is the same with you in City of the Wolves, Terry? I just want to make sure, because City of the Wolves is actually the most heart kind of game in existence in a very, very long time. And the reason why is because there's a lot of ways to blow up frame data. You see so many of those Hokutomarus doing stuff that's minus, and then they're just like level 1. And you die, right? So yeah, and that's the thing, Gugeno, is that you're probably more of an old school player. And I keep saying this on Twitter, where I'm just like, obviously City of the Wolves is an old school player's game because it's heart-based. It's gone back to the heart. And, you know, like, again, I'm not saying people are wrong or whatever the case, but like, I had people disagreeing with me. But I was like, hey, look at this tournament result. Visant won his local. Mike Ross got second place at this tournament. And I was like, it's because this game is made for the old people. And it's working out better for them. And I had people who were like, well, old people still do win other games. I don't think that this narrative is correct, James. But look at this weekend at Combo Breaker. Like, I think it was Automatic who posted out that the average age of the top 8 in City of the Wolves was 36. The youngest person, I think it was like 29. Samurai Showdown at EVO. Henry Sen made top 8. When you make these games as with the heart style, it's not that the old people are out of touch. It's just that a lot of the modern games aren't what they want to play. That's why I bring up Daigo's story about Nuki every single time. Because Daigo said the exact same thing about Nuki. He just wants to press buttons and make decisions. He doesn't want to study, you know? And he's like, does that mean Nuki is bad because he can't play 5 or 6? He's like, no, Nuki's one of the greatest fighting game players of all time. It's just that modern games are different than older games. And again, this is why I keep bringing it up, because it's such an important conversation. But again, City of the Wolves, like, the average age was like, I mean, let me see if I can find the tweet from him from Automatic here, because I definitely retweeted it. So let me see if I can just find this over here. And again, right, like let's talk about GamerB, right? Really good at VF. And weird thing about VF is as frame data heavy as that game is, it becomes a very strong heart game very quickly, because you have so many options, and it really becomes picking the right one and doing the work basically with that. But he was really good at Street Fighter 4. GamerB could not find success in Street Fighter V. Could not find success in Street Fighter V. A lot of people are like, oh, it's probably because he's old. Oil King is the new dude in Taiwan. And so, you know, GamerB, he's just washed up at this point because he's old, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, there's $1.5 million on the line for Street Fighter, for City of the Wolves right now. So you know everybody's playing the goddamn game, right? Here's the top 8 for City of the Wolves at Combo Breaker. Reynold, who is 37 years old. Goichi, who is 37 years old. Chris G, oh wow, Chris G is 34? Jesus, time goes by fast. Chris G is 34 years old. RB is 37 years old. ZJZ is 30 years old. Fenrich is the young one here at 29 years old. Punko is 39 years old, and the last person in top 8 is GamerB at 46 years old. Now you're gonna tell me that GamerB's just been washed up this whole time, and then City of the Wolves came out and GamerB is like, I'm gonna practice now, and suddenly make top 8 at Combo Breaker in like the first event for City of the Wolves that is just like hugely stacked tournament after everyone found out there's $1.5 million on the line. That all of a sudden, GamerB, who everybody said is washed up in Street Fighter 5 and 6, comes out of nowhere and gets top 8 at City of the Wolves? Like, is that the conversation we're gonna have? Or are we gonna talk about the fact that City of the Wolves is a heart game and favors heart players like GamerB? Come on. Like, you can't, like, there's just no logic in saying that all the fighting games are the same. There's just no logic to that. There's no way anybody can literally look me in the eye and say that it has no difference. Modern games and old games, there's none of this mind game, heart game crap, James. There's too much evidence of it. Like I'm almost at a point right now where I'm just like, I'm just not wrong. Like, I have no way to be wrong. Like, I'm absolutely correct. You know? Like, that's the thing. Again, so many players at this tournament. Like, let me bring up the start.gg over here, right? Let me bring up the start.gg for you guys over here and find this here. So let's see Combo Breaker 2025, right? So we go to Combo Breaker 2025 and Fatal Fury City of the Wolves has 877 entrants. 877 entrants with people like Goichi and Nephew, Coach Steve, who took out a lot of people, by the way, Kizzy K, Reynold, like, where's some other ones that are like, I mean, a bunch of also SNK players that I might not recognize. Shine was in there, E.T. was playing, Super Noon was there. Like I said, GamerB is there. Bass from the Killer Instinct scene is there. Dacid Bro, Scrot Vermilion, like amazing DCQ. Corey Bell, Eita was in this tournament. King Debu, Juicebox was all playing this. Oil King, Marn, Cien, Mighty Mar of Anacaris fame, VX Bao, Space Boy, and Mock from Japan, Frezer from Morocco, who's one of the biggest SNK lovers, Sonic Fox, Violent Kane, Juan KOF, Chris G, SQ was playing in this one. And let's see, who else? Güero Asamiya, one of the best players, I think, from Mexico, right? XYZZY was here. Fenrich, Perfect Legend was playing this. Punko, not Mike Ross, it's hologram Mike Ross. Cloud 805, Defeat Lee. Like, I just named all these players. And you're gonna tell me that GamerB, who, like, can barely make a top 8 in Street Fighter 5 and Street Fighter 6, just came out of nowhere and maybe had an easy path or just played the tournament of his life to get top 8? You know, because everybody's saying he's old and washed up now? Like, this is really the argument that you're trying to give me here? Like, seriously, you can't make this argument, right? It's not, like, literally, there's no way that GamerB hasn't actually been really good at fighting games this whole time. It's just these games are not to his mindset. They don't work with his mindset. They don't favor his mindset. The heart player has a distinct disadvantage when playing mind games, just like mind players have a distinct disadvantage when playing the heart games. So what's more likely, that GamerB just decided to not play and be bad during Street Fighter 5 and Street Fighter 6? and then got good again for Fatal Fury out of nowhere? Or is it more likely that he's just actually been an amazing player this entire time? And he finally got a game that works, that's suited to his playstyle. Like, what is actually more likely here? 46, I said he was? What was the age that I said he was at this point? Where did I get that? Yeah, here we are. 46 years old. 46 years old. So he did start semi-retire for a while, but City of the Wolves has only been out for like a month, right? A month or two? No, just about a month at this point. Like, how much Fatal Fury practice do you think GamerB got? Like, the same month practice as everyone else did, and everyone else who other people have said are clearly better than the older generation. You just have to accept that, James. It's the same thing as in hockey and in tennis and all this stuff. And I'm like, no. He had the same month to play and practice Fatal Fury, and he got top 8 at Combo Breaker out of 800 and some players, right? Like, I'll answer your guys' question in a second. My problem is that there is no guard proximity like in Mark of the Wolves, so all my neutral play is killing me here. Before you press a button, the opponent was stuck in place blocking, but here they just keep walking back, and all my buttons miss by a couple of pixels and drive me crazy. And that's another problem too, because like that happens in Street Fighter 6 now as well. And that hurts my footsies a lot too. Like, it's hard for me to get people where I want them to be. And it's just a change, but that system can be applied to either mind or heart games because it just affects the neutral. You just have to change how you approach it, like you're saying here. But I did a whole stream on this 2 weeks ago about the difference between heart and mind. So like David asked, yeah, what is a heart player, right? What exactly is a heart player? Well, the way that I describe it in the most crass way as possible is I describe heart games and heart players as the fuck it DP players and games. Like, fuck it, I'm gonna DP right here because it feels right, right? So bringing up GamerB again, remember Daigo's very, very famous walk up to GamerB while he's getting up and meaty fierce DP him, and then walk up at him, and then meaty fierce DP him, and then walk up to him and meaty fierce DP him, and got him stunned and he killed him? Remember, that was a period of time when Ryu's heavy DP was un-FADCable. So if it got blocked, he would have died. But Daigo did it 3 times in a row because it just felt like the right thing to do because he knew GamerB was probably scared and panicking. And so he was just like, meaty DP, meaty DP, meaty DP. And again, the heavy DP was the only one, I think, at the time that was full invincibility. That's why it wasn't FADCable. So the way Daigo described it is that older games were about the speed of making decisions, and modern games are about studying the situation. So again, if I'm playing something like City of the Wolves, right, and someone knocks me down and then does whiff jump, whiff jab, and then does like some crazy meaty on me, right? Like, you notice something about City of the Wolves is that every knockdown gives you free pressure. Like, every knockdown in that game is like plus 30 something. Like, there's almost never a situation where you knock someone down that you can't just run up to them and be like, hi, I'm next to you now, have fun. But if that was the case in Street Fighter 6 or Street Fighter 5, like, the game would be like broken, right? People would be like, why does he get Oki after every, like, some changes are like, okay, well now when Rashid does this, he doesn't have enough Oki to get the Isar off, and now all of a sudden he dropped in tears, according to Japan. But like in City of the Wolves, it's like, I hit you, I touched you, you fell over, let me run over to you. Oh, I still have like 20 frames to kill here before I meet you. What should I do? You really couldn't give a crap crap how minus you are, because most likely you have an invincible DP. You have a guard, you have just defend into 0 frame super, you know, you have the ability to roll left and right on the wake up, you have like, dude, there's just like so many mechanics that can just get you out of these situations. There's literally no reason for you to study the situations. And so what happens is the game is just about, here's a decision to make, what are you gonna do? Here's a decision to make, what are you gonna do? Here's a decision you're gonna make, what do you do? Whereas if you play Street Fighter 6 and Ryu throws you and then dashes up in the corner, so he throws you in the corner and dashes up. Is he minus or plus? Do you know if he's minus or plus? Because if he's plus, this is a completely different situation than if he's minus. Kimberly, if she throws you in the corner and dashes forward, is she minus or plus? Do you know? Do you know if she's minus or plus? If you don't know the answer to that, you don't know how to fight it. And you are at an extreme disadvantage. Because if this was Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, and I threw you into the corner and dashed up, you couldn't give a crap. It doesn't really matter, right? I can wake up super. I don't care. Like, what's the look, you could be minus like 7 bazillion, but then you get up and you just wake up in DP because you have an invincible DP, you know? Like, it doesn't matter. But like in a lot of like the Street Fighter games, you have to know these situations. Okay, in this situation, here are my actual options. If Ken does strong, fierce, run into Tatsu, what are you scared of at this point? What are you scared of? Do you know that Ken can get a meaty overhead on you, that he can link off of that? And so now on that particular setup, you have a meaty overhead to be scared of? Like, do you know that situation? And again, in Fatal Fury, who cares if they can get a meaty overhead? I can DP it. Like, it just doesn't matter. And that is the difference between a heart and a mind game right there. Mind games limit your options a lot more so that the situation describes to you what the mix-ups are, who has an advantage, whose turn it is. In a game like Fatal Fury, in a game like Super Turbo, it's never anybody's turn. Like, it just doesn't exist. Because in Super Turbo, every character except for 3 have wake-up DBs. Like, it just doesn't even matter. And that's just the thing, right? So that's the biggest difference right there. CP skills, given what you said about Daigo meaty DP, do you think more people should think like that with regards to throw loops in the corner? I often think that because everyone agrees that you should just take the throw. It makes the 50-50 mix-up that much stronger, so the attacker just keeps doing it. In Street Fighter 6, we can be guaranteed to do a meaty throw to beat your wake-up button 100% of the time. It beats every DP. The only thing that wins is an ODDP. So again, in the Street Fighter 6 situation, you are at such an incredible disadvantage that it is terrible for the defender. That's why they take so many throws. Because even if you take 5 throws in a row, that was 4 times that they might have not thrown, that you could have pressed the button or jumped out or gotten away. But if you try to throw tech or DP and they shimmy, and shimmy beats both throw tech and wake up DP, you will lose 60% of your life. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it, right? And, you know, with a lot of these older games, like, yeah, City of the Wolves has tons of damage too as well. But you're rewarded for tons of damage in like every way, shape, or form, right? Like everything leads to big damage. So yes, even if you wake up with a light DP and beat them, it doesn't necessarily give you big damage or anything. But now, guess what? I knocked you down with this 1 DP and I'm gonna run up to you and now it's my turn to do something crazy. So you wake up with a DP and now it's your turn. But like, there's never a point where like one person, like if I wake up with an ODDP in Street Fighter 6, not only can I die if they actually block it, if I hit you, I get nothing. Every character in Street Fighter 5 and Street Fighter 6, when they wake up with an ODDP and they hit you, they get nothing. They get no Oki, they get no pressure, nothing, right? And so what's your reward for landing that? Whereas like in Fatal Fury, okay, you might not take a lot of damage, but I just knocked you down. And like I said, I'm probably plus 38 or something like that. And I'm just gonna run up to you and now I've got a mix up. And if I'm right, I get to drain a ton of damage. So the risk and reward is like a little more balanced. Power Ranger X, Shimmy is walking backwards out of their throw range, making them whiff their throw, and then just punching them in the face and doing a giant combo, right? And so from the defensive side in Street Fighter 6 and Street Fighter 5, if I wake up with a DP and I'm right, I get out of the corner and I get nothing. I get no Oki, I get no pressure, I get nothing. So I just got myself slightly out of the corner and knocked them down, cool, right? If I'm wrong, oh, by the way, this move gets super punish counter and lets the opponent set up like their longest setup and most damaging setup, etc., right? If the offensive person goes for a throw and I tech it, guess what? I'm still in the corner. I'm still trapped. What the hell am I supposed to do at this point? Like, it could go back to the throw loop really easily, right? If I press a button because they shimmy and like maybe I hit them a little bit or something like that, like, oh, cool. Did it really change everything for me? So pressing a button against the shimmy is the most rewarding for the defensive player. That is by far the most defensive option. But that's why you see a lot of players at the highest levels waking up with crouch medium kick now. Because they're just reading the shimmy and they're like, you know what? I'm just gonna crouch medium kick drive rush cancel. If he shimmies, I hit him. Right? But again, if you're wrong and they put a media attack in you, guess what? They're gonna hit you with a button that's either gonna like counter hit you into like some sort of crazy stun state, or they have like 10 years to confirm into a big old combo that probably does like 50% damage, right? So like every time you're wrong, you lose a giant chunk of life except when you take the throw. But guess what? You're just back in the exact same situation again. And so now you have to deal with that again. This is why people get throw looped. And so when you see someone get throw looped and someone's like, these guys are scrub, why wouldn't you tech? Why wouldn't you wake up DP? The reason is because if you're wrong on those, you lose 60% of your health. And so the risk reward factor is, I'm just hoping that this guy is going to be scared that I'm gonna tech or that I'm gonna wake up DP so he doesn't throw me. I'm just gonna take that chance. They have actively made the choice to just get thrown 9 times in a row because they're just hoping, and you see it all the time, throw, and then the guy walks up and then shimmies, or the guy walks up and presses a button. A lot of times, the throw looper isn't brave enough to go for 3 or 4 throws in a row. And so most of the time, taking 3 or 4 throws in a row pays off for them. And in the rare instance where the other guy actually calls them out and says, you know what? I'm gonna throw you 5 times in a row. And then it works. Like, that's when everybody watches and are like, God, I can't believe he didn't try anything. But you don't realize that 90% of the time, taking the throw 4 times in a row saved their life, as opposed to that one match that you saw, and then you're just like, just tech. There's a way to counter, just tech. Like, people don't understand that at all, right? Yes, Holmes, Vortex is very similar, but almost kind of worse. I mean, I literally quit Street Fighter 4 because I got sick of Vortexes. I literally, my comment on that was, this is not Street Fighter, this is training mode fighter. Little did I know that the future of Street Fighter is training mode fighter. You have to lab everything. And I quit Street Fighter 4 because I didn't want to lab any of that. I just gave up, you know? And so while it's not a throw loop, it's a hit loop. And the mix-ups are the hits. And so what made Akuma's Vortex really scary, it was like, I'm either going to hit you from the front, hit you from a cross-up, empty low, but all of them lead into the sweep ender so that I can repeat the Vortex. And so it's not just a throw loop, it's just guess which way to defend, have fun. And that's what that was. Essentially, kind of the same idea as a throw loop, but it's based off of mix up and hit as opposed to, you know what, I just gotta take these throws, right? The fact is that the vortex and throw loops are the same and very similar because they lead back into themselves. Leading back into themselves is the issue, right? The fact that when Akuma hits you with a cross-up Tatsu, he would just go for a sweep instead of a bigger combo that he could have done, because now he gets the same mix-up, right? And now he has another long combo like light Tatsu into sweep, and then he can extend it, which is why a lot of people would, like Akuma players would have problems against the parts of the cast that you couldn't do light Tatsu into sweep on, because you couldn't vortex them as easily in Street Fighter 4. There was a chunk of the cast that you could sweep in that situation and a chunk of the cast that you could not. And so Kuma had a better matchup against the ones that you could than against the ones that you couldn't, right? But that's the whole point, is that the mix-ups lead back into themselves. So yes, throw loops and vortexes are the same concept. They're just executed and the mix-up is different between them. And the one that loops back into itself is a different thing, right? It just so happens that Akuma, which is what Tokido developed, had enough mix-ups that all led to the same setup. That and in Street Fighter 6, it's just the throws. The throw just leads to the same setup. So that's what it is. Danilo says, as a social psychologist, I observe other factors that also lead to your point. For example, playing games not for fun, but as a job will at some point make you feel exhausted. We've seen players with long careers looking bored playing on automatic. Competitors take pleasure in what they play is very important. Competitors taking pleasure in what they play is very important. Trying out games with different mechanics can lead to them have more fun and commit to these other games if they like the mechanics. That's just I got burned out on the freaking game. What about third strikes? It seems like it can kind of be solved. Is it just that parrying is hard enough to keep it muddy? Yeah, basically. And the parrying is a guess. The parrying is literally a guess. The reason why a character like 12 is considered weaker than a lot of other characters is because he doesn't have a simple, easy way to confirm a low into a super or a mid into a super. Something that you have to parry forward or something that you have to parry down, right? And so what happens a lot of the times is that, when a character knocks you down, if people who guess parry on their wake up in third strike do not have success. Because yes, it feels like a 50-50 of parrying whichever way, but the thing is, a meaty throw also beats a parry, right? So you can walk up to somebody, walk up to them, let them get up, wait half a second, then down parry, and they do the delay tech and they do low jab, and you parry that and you still get to kill them. So wake up guessing in third strike is not in your favor, right? But the parry option is always there in every situation. If you're minus whatever and you can't be punished, you can always parry. And because that exists, it doesn't matter you don't have to study the situation again. And in fact, because parry exists, a lot of times it actually profits you to use slower moves that don't meaty perfectly. If I walk up to you, that's why I lost the P groove in CVS 2, because I would meaty you every single time, because that's what you did in a lot of other games. But in third strike, walking up to someone and hitting the god-awful, most slowest button in the world actually pays off a lot of the times. That's why you see people wake up with standing heavy kick and stuff, because if the guy is trying to, parry your late tech, they're gonna press down and you wake up with standing heavy kick and they press down and you kick them in the face, because that has to be a forward parry, right? And so it's third strike goes in this complete different direction, but it's still a heart game in the end for those reasons, right? It's just the way that the game is played is about making these really, really weird decisions. And no, parries aren't lucky guesses. They're not. But they're very option selectable. And that's the thing that makes them dangerous, right? Is if I'm gonna jump, I'm not just gonna parry your anti-air and hope that you did the anti-air. I'm gonna parry and press the button and then try to throw. Or I'm gonna parry and try to throw. And if you didn't anti-air, I don't do anything until I land and try to throw. That's why you see empty jump into throw tech, empty jump into throw tech a lot in Third Strike, because they're both parrying. They're both jump, and I'm parrying your jump attack, I'm parrying your anti-air. They both option select that into throw, and you get the throw tech. And so that's the thing that makes parries really scary, is that you're not guessing to parry, you're putting it in situations where you can now protect yourself, right? That's how it works. So, like I said, you know, a lot of the times that you see people parrying and then they just like punch you right away is because they were doing an option select. Because parries are non-committal, right? They do lock you out from another parry attempt for a certain amount of frames, but you know, that very rarely comes into play. So a lot of times when you see someone like Hayao jumping and then he parries Ken's jumping EX Tatsu, wasn't because he predicted the jump EX Tatsu. I guarantee you that Hayao was parrying all like 5 jumps before that. He parried in every single one of those jumps. And so either you're just hoping you hit him at a timing they weren't ready for it, or you try to hit him like a little bit later on the ground because, like I said, you can't go parry, parry, parry in the air whiffing parries 3 times in a row. So you change your timing just ever so lightly to beat it, right? But the one time he jumped and parried Ken's Tatsu is not like, oh my God, Hayao predict everything. He was parrying like in at least 80% of his jumps during the entire game. It's just that you don't see anything. And that's why in Yatagarasu, they actually, while the mechanic works the same, but they change parry to a button, they also put a UI element that shows you when you press that button. So you can actually see that the opponent is trying to parry in all these situations and thus adjust your game plan, right? They tried to solve the hidden parry in the middle of everything by actually showing an interface when you press the button to parry, right? And so that's how Third Strike works. Kokuji released a pretty good video about throw protection in old games and throw loops. Yeah, there's a lot of old games you couldn't throw when they got up, and a lot of times, like when you threw them, like I said, like if you wake up DP, you can just hit them, whatever. Like a lot of games, they have that, and a lot of games just have way more throw and vulnerability. And in fact, in City of the Wolves, you have enough throw protection on your wake up and after blocking that a 4-frame button, which is the fastest button in City of the Wolves, which is point blank, usually light punch or crouching light punch, which are 4 frames, you have, I think it's 4 to 5 throw invulnerable frames when you get up, so that there is absolutely zero possibility that a meaty throw can beat your wake up 4 frame. You will always lose to the wake up 4 frame if you try to meaty throw them. So you literally can't throw them on their wake up if they're mashing lights. And there's a lot of games where throw loops existed. Like Alpha had throw loops, but you know, you just had to make sure you timed it right and stuff like that, especially for some grapplers. Like, God, going from ST to Alpha, like the throw loop, like the meaty SPDs felt weird because like you couldn't do meaty SPD in ST because there was a lot of throw protection in those games when you got up. And in the Alpha games, it just like dropped to either nothing or like 1 or 2 frames. And so like meaty SPDs in those games were scary. Oh, was it a glitch in A2? Did they not do that on purpose? So what do you mean, Power Ranger X? Snake Eyes mentioned this, jump normals shouldn't be parried. What's your thought on this? Does he mean strategically, or does he mean jump normals shouldn't be parryable? Because if he means the second one, God, I love that, man. If you watch any of my Street Fighter 6 streams, like besides DIs, the thing that gets me on tilt the most is when people perfect parry my jump-in attacks. I get so mad. I got so mad. Shouldn't be parryable. I love Snake Eyes. I love Snake Eyes so goddamn much, because I have been shouting this from the rooftops forever. I'm like, just make my jump attacks not parryable, please, please, please. Because Snake Eyes is one of the most ultimate heart players that you're ever gonna find. That's why he quit Street Fighter V and doesn't really compete for Street Fighter VI. Because as good as he is in these games, they just don't feel, they don't provide him the same kind of enjoyment that he got from heart-based games. So again, just is like, I hate it when people tell me that, like, my narrative is not real. And it's because a lot of times people think that I'm telling the narrative because I'm protecting myself, that I'm trying to make excuses for why I can't play this or that, or whether I'm bad at 6 or 5, blah, 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 blah. But it has nothing to do with me. You know, like, why am I having trouble doing this? Why am I having trouble processing this? And when I realize what it is because I'm better at heart games than mind games, in the weirdest way, it actually makes me better at the games. Me understanding that my mindset is not focused for mind games like Street Fighter V and Street Fighter VI made me better at those games because I have an easier time going, okay, what's my problem? Whereas when I was playing Street Fighter V early on using Cammy, I'm like, why can't I pressure people but everybody else can? I press buttons and they keep hitting me. This makes no sense. This is dumb. This game sucks. And this is the narrative that you see from a lot of old school top players. I saw someone on Facebook like Street Fighter VI is just ass. It sucks. And I was like, it doesn't suck. It's just that you prefer this older style and this game plays a different way. It's not a bad game. In fact, it's a great game. It's just not how you want to play fighting games. And that's not wrong. There's nothing wrong with you thinking that way. Like, like you are completely justified in hating them because they don't play the way you play, but they're not bad games. And like some of the people that I've said that to are like, I never thought of it that way, right? And so instead of me spending all my time, if I wasn't a commentator, if I would probably have been on the internet just being like, these games are stupid, they're random, and I hate it, blah, blah, blah. I'd sound like all the other old players. But by understanding that there's a difference between heart and mind is how I got Lucia into a super high rank in Street Fighter V, because I realized I had to play a different game. So me studying this and analyzing this is not for me to make an excuse. It actually is so that I can get better in the right way that the game asks you to get better. And so by studying it this way, it actually makes me a better player. It makes it so that when I do use Guile, or when I use it, it's like, I use Zangief, right? I use Zangief, and I was like, I can't do it. I can't, these buttons don't work, and it feels all weird. And I was like, oh God, that's right. I'm trying to play it like heart. And you know what? I got into master with Zangief real easily because I was like, okay, I have to play the game differently. I have to play the game differently. And so I had to study all of the things like Zangief drive rush standing strong leads into, you know, drive rush stand strong into a second stand strong beats all attempts to backdash and jump backwards. So drive rush stand strong is a real mix-up, whereas a lot of other things, if I go jab, jab, and then try to SPD you can jump away. I don't have a mix-up with that, right? So I have to find the places where I do get the mix-up. Another one, headbutt into hell stab. You see top Zangief players do that all the time. Why do they do that? Because the hell stab catches pre-jump frames and it catches pre-backdash frames. It's perfectly timed. Regular headbutt, hell stab. And so if they hold up back or if they try to backdash, they die. So a lot of Zangief players will do headbutt, hell stab, drive rush to catch you jumping. And if you don't study these things, you can't win with the character. So I took the time to study these things and I did fine with Zangief, right? But because I understand that the game is played differently, I knew how to approach the game and what to look for and how to get better at the games. And that's why I keep talking about this narrative, because we don't talk about that enough. Like, yes, you get better at this game differently than you get better at this game. And we need to talk about that. Yes, this is exactly why Daigo is, quote, losing steam. It's because these games aren't designed for him. Because heart is not rewarded. And again, Daigo is one of the best heart players in fighting game history. If Daigo actually sat down and learned City of the Wolves, he will kick so much ass in that game. The hard part is that because the fighting game competition is so hard, it's hard to learn multiple games now. Even someone as great as Tokido, who used to win like 5 games at EVO or top 8 at 5 games at EVO, only plays Street Fighter now. Because if you remember when Street Fighter V first came out, Tokido like had trouble with Street Fighter V, even to the point where he almost like threatened to go play Killer Instinct. You know, the one not before Keats, it was during when Iron Galaxy made it? Yeah, Iron Galaxy made it, when Double Helix made it. But like Tokido was even threatening to go play Killer Instinct because he thought it was fun and he liked how it played. But Tokido eventually figured out, oh, I see, this is how you're supposed to play Street Fighter V. And remember, he was really good in Season 1 when Ryu had an invincible DP. Because then he could play more like Heart. As soon as they removed the invincible DPs from Season 1, the game completely changed. That's when I started suffering, and I just couldn't win with Cammy anymore. So I would just get away with that a lot of the times because, like I said, Heart games are fuck it DP games. Like, I don't know why I chose to do this. It felt right and it worked, right? But in a lot of the modern games, is like, that doesn't work. Because if I knock you down and I have my frame kills and I throw a meaty on you, fuck it, DP doesn't work because your DP isn't invincible. And literally, you have no way to stop it. The only way you can stop it, and this is what makes Street Fighter 6 a little more heart-based than Street Fighter 5, is perfect parry. Perfect parry existing is what has allowed more heart players to find more success in Street Fighter 6 than Street Fighter 5 because perfect parry blows up frame data. Because perfect parry works at, you know, the most minus of situations where you can't be punished. So if you're -3, perfect parry can still beat a 4-frame light. But the timing is really hard on it, so the game isn't as heart-based as we think it would make it, and if you get thrown out of perfect parry, you take a crap ton of damage. Anna, the only thing I'm going to say is, like Snake Eyes said, please don't let it so that you can perfect parry jump-ins. Because it's so hard to jump in on anybody in this game. The fact that you can be blown up and rewarded at the very last second sucks to me. I hate it. Like, I snuck in my jump. Like, again, we're both grapplers, so both of us pride ourselves on our jump timing, sneaking our jump in there. Woohoo! And then when we get the jump in and we press a button, boo, perfect parry, and then they throw us, and then we're back to square one because I literally caught you off guard so that you are whiffing a button or not ready for my jump, even though you have a DP. And I succeeded in reading when to jump at you, and because you have this panic reaction by pressing 2 buttons that works even at the last second, you saved yourself from my jump. Like, fuck that. Like, fuck that. I hate it so much. And it's not broken because it's not, you don't see that happening all over the place because better players will just jump in and throw you. And it should reward a grappler because if I jump and do nothing in SPD, I get mad damage that way. But for heart players, especially players who have played their whole life thinking that I snuck the jump in is your reward, to have that get punished is so annoying. So again, it's not necessarily broken. It's not necessarily like bad for the game or whatever. It's bad for me. And I hate it for that reason. But, you know, I'll be mad about what I'm going to be mad about. Honestly, Daigo would cook in COTW. He would cook hard in that game, in my opinion. So, and again, Xiaohai isn't necessarily a Fatal Fury player, Gundam Jehudi Kai. He is a KOF player, but he's also just an amazing fighting game player, and Fatal Fury has more SNKE things that he's used to. So, like, for example, the mindset of chasing down somebody who rolls forward or rolls backward on their wake up. So he's going to be attuned to Fatal Fury faster than a lot of other people. He already has the mindset of dealing with low jumps and stuff like that, right? So he has just a lot of those S&K tendencies, right? So that's why he won Evo Japan, right? Because he's just an amazing player. Do I think City of the Wolves will be relevant in 2 years? It's going to have a pretty sizable, like, dedicated player base. I don't know if it will have this kind of like, oh my God, $1.5 million is on the line, but it will have a pretty strong player base, and a lot of the people who do find that they enjoy this game will still be playing it at that point in time. The hardest part is that the pro players are usually what drives eyes to the games, which is why my other philosophy is that the players are super important. Let's make the players famous, because then, like Sonic Fox and Goichi, when they reached Dragon Ball, it didn't have to be Dragon Ball fighters. If they were both like, hey, we're the best at Killer Instinct, and Goichi's like, Sonic Fox is next. If Hunter x Hunter comes out and Goichi was like, I'm the best at Hunter x Hunter, and Sonic Fox is like, I'm the best at Hunter x Hunter. You know what? Everybody's gonna go watch when Goichi and Sonic Fox play each other. Like, the game doesn't matter, the players matter, right? And when money is getting thrown out all over the place like this, and one game is grand prize is $1 million, and none of the other games have that, it's very easy for guys like Tokido to just say, I'm only playing Street Fighter, or for Daigo to be like, I'm only playing Street Fighter, right? Because it makes the most business sense to do that. And not only that, but Street Fighter 6 just has so much steam and momentum in Japan right now. Like, everybody's playing the game, right? It's so popular right now that it's like bad business sense for any of these guys to go play anything else. So that's the thing that's really tough about the situation. When Tokido actually told the story on that Evo interview, I was like, oh my God. Because Tokido would only do 3 moves in King of Fighters with Iori. All you would do is kick, and like, you know, there's the taco kick or something like that, and doshita, you know, when he throws the fireball. So Ki came from kick, do came from doshita, and I think the to was for like the taco kick that Iori had. And so he's like, you only do these 3 moves. So you're to, ki, do. Those are the only 3 moves you do. Because Japan likes to shorten all those things. Pokemon is Pocket Monster, right? For example, right? But they combine it. Shorthand for Dragon Quest is just Draku, D-R-A-Q-U. So they just call it Draku, right? Like, they like to do that kind of shortening. So Tokido's name came from the fact that he does this taco kick, or I don't remember if it was a taco kick. It might have been throw or something like that, but it was something that led to toe. And ki was like kick, and do was doshita, and that's it. That's how he became Tokido. Oh, man. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to see a lot of people at these events these days. It's hard. Oh, well, because Combo Breaker's also gotten so big. It's like how Evo was when Evo started getting to that point where it was impossible to run into people, so. Oh, Street Fighter 6 is Suto 6? Yeah, a lot of times when you actually see the katakana and you do the translation, when anybody in Japan types out Street Fighter's name in katakana, it always gets translated to Strike 6. I don't know why. I guess famously that Suto or whatever like that, katakana also means strike. And so it just comes out as Strike 6 when they abbreviate it like that, so. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Combo Breaker has gotten really big, but the beautiful thing about it, I'll save this one for the actual show, which I should start now because I've been going for 2 hours and 14 minutes about this other topic here. But again, I'm very passionate about this topic. I love talking about this topic, and I just want to make it so that people understand it and accept it more, because I know a lot of people just think I'm being some old guy, like, you know, making excuses or just being weird, because I always do this. I always come up with all these weird theories and stuff like this, but I think that this one is actually legit. I really think that this is legit, and we should talk about this more often. I talk about this a lot because I think as players, our whole community will be better if someone's like, fuck Street Fighter 6, this game is stupid. I'm like, well, you probably like heart games, so go try Fatal Fury. You'll probably enjoy this more. And if this conversation gets around and these games are labeled like that properly, then people will be like, oh, so what kind of game is Street Fighter 7? Oh, it's a mind game. Oh, God, so just like 5 and 6 were? Yeah, okay, so I probably won't like it. Instead of going like, man, I tried playing this game so scrubby. People just do random shit. It's so dumb. You know, like, we can actually have intelligent conversations about this topic, you know, and understand why people can get good at one game or not another. Well, remember, Combo Breaker was essentially Ultimate Fighting Game Tournament, UFGT. So it was essentially UFGT. And when Keats actually quit UFGT, he had become friends with Rick, and basically Rick stepped up to be who took over the Midwest Major. So that's kind of how it worked. So that's why Combo Breaker wasn't around for Street Fighter 4, is because there was no reason for Combo Breaker to exist at that point. So yeah, people need to stop being married to franchises. Like, delving out to other games. I literally had one player on my stream one time and was just like, I don't like Street Fighter 5, I can't get good at this. And I was like, you'll like Samurai Showdown. And I just bought him Samurai Showdown, you know, at that time. And afterwards he was like, dude, I love this game, right? And so, like, without this conversation, we can't learn these fighting games. And if we just present every fighting game as the same, what happens then is that everybody is that much more discouraged and dumbfounded when they can't get good at it. A lot of the people on my stream skew as older because I'm older and I talk about older things, but a lot of the people on my stream are like, I just can't enjoy 5 or 6. I just can't enjoy it. But I can tell them why. Because without telling them why, they spend the whole time going like, maybe I just suck now. Like, oh, I'm just bad. Like, I can't get good. I can't get out of bronze. I can't get out of silver. Why do I suck? And I can be like, don't be hard on yourself. The game is different. You don't have the right mindset. Every time someone comes on my stream is like, I can't get good at Street Fighter. How do I get better? I'm like, name me your favorite fighting game and name me your other favorite video games. I want to know what their mindset is. And as soon as they tell me, I know how to teach them. If they're a mind player, I can just go all in on frame data for Street Fighter 6. If they're a heart player, I'd be like, okay, look, the hard part about this is it's not a game designed for your brain set. You have to study, and I know you hate, like a lot of these players hate studying, and it feels like homework. Like, I can teach people properly. And when we avoid this conversation, like, everybody else is just going to be like, well, you know, you just need to do this. But, like, we're not teaching the people the right way. Anyways, I mean, that's a standard thing, right? Like, doing well. And I mean, you hear me on stream all the time. I suck at this game. I suck at this game. And like, then I just get to master and I'm just like, God, that took me all like 2 whole sessions to get to master rank. I suck. And everybody else is like, bro, James, like, calm down, okay? You know, it's just how it is. So, oh man. No, NRS games are different because, and again, it's not for NRS games. Well, MK11, oh, that became a mind game so hard. But there's enough crap in that game that you could blow that up. That's kind of like Tekken. Like, Tekken is a mind game, but there's just enough that exists in the game to blow up all of the mind things that happen in that game. MK11 was close to that, but MK also follows just a bunch of different universal rules that other fighting games do not follow. Like, what you understand about block stun and hit stun don't apply to MK. Like, there's some moves that are like plus 14 on hit. And I have this 9-frame move that reaches and they can block it. What? Huh? What? You know, like, that's what makes MK hard, is that it just follows a very different set of rules that most fighting games do not follow. It's very different than what fighting games have taught us to play. And that doesn't make MK bad, it just makes it awkward for a lot of people, except for the people who really love NRS games, right? So, oh yeah, Tekken has a little bit of that state as well. Most fighting games have a lot of the state now, but they're in very specific situations. Like, for example, Under Night, the person who techs the throw, the person who gets their throw teched is minus, but enough that a move should be able to punish them, but they can block. So they're just in a state where they can not do anything else but block. A Grand Blue has this as well on the throw techs, I think, as well, but it's changed enough that I don't know if that's still the case. So they're Guilty Gear, guard break situation. But, you know, in MK, there was a lot of situations where after you get hit by something, you're in a hit stun that, you know, you can block in the middle of, but you just can't act. So the opponent gets a lot of free advantage. In fact, you know, in MK9, there were a lot of combo strings that you did. Like, for example, if you were Scorpion, you could combo, teleport, and it would hit them. But it later on got people to the point where they realized when you hit them with the teleport, they went into that stagger animation. So instead of doing that, they just jumped, and your jump would actually reach them before they finished the stagger. So you could actually teleport, hit them, jump, and get like pressure instead of doing a combo that was so scaled by the end. You would just hit them with teleport and jump. And you got all this frame advantage on that, right? So it's just the way that the games play felt very different. And once I understood that, this is how I approach fighting games, I wasn't mad. Like, I was like, this is so dumb. Why can you be plus 15 and my 7-frame move that reaches them doesn't combo? This is the dumbest thing ever. And then when people started integrating into strategy, I'm like, it's not dumb, it's different. And that's fine. Like, it's just a different way than what I expected, you know? And people don't think this way enough because we don't talk about how different fighting games are. And so when they can't do the thing that they want to do in a fighting game, they think it's a bad fighting game, as opposed to it's a different fighting game. And that's why we end up with all this fighting game, you know, strife between scenes and stuff.